Did you ever think that military positions would be tracked through Apple products? Even Steve Jobs couldn't have predicted this twist. Take this story. A Ukrainian man, determined to track his stolen AirPods, discovered something far more valuable: a Russian platoon's movements. With a little help from Apple's Find My feature, he traced the Russian soldiers and reported their movements to Ukrainian forces. And this is just the start of the dumbest Russian forces compilation. We'll dive into the hilarious blunders, mishaps, and facepalm moments of the Russian army during the Ukraine war. In a special twist on drone tech, a Ukrainian team managed to capture a Russian drone, only to find a Canon DSLR camera strapped inside. That's right, a high-tech war drone equipped with everyone's favorite tourist gadget. I guess someone missed the memo on military-grade technology. And here, the driver of a Russian armored vehicle cluelessly plowed into a row of clearly visible landmines and promptly blew himself up. If you found this as mind-blowing as we did, make sure to hit that like button and subscribe for more unbelievable moments from the front lines. But if you think that's bad, wait until you hear what they've been doing with HIMARS. The Russian military claims it has annihilated more HIMARS systems than the US has even sent. How? Simple. They were just wooden decoys built by Ukrainian troops, and Russia, not knowing the difference, has been firing millions of dollars of missiles at these fake HIMARS like they're playing a high-stakes carnival game. But hey, who knew that plywood could be such a strategic asset? It's not just about HIMARS. Lieutenant Commander Alexander Afanasyev and his team in Donetsk created a fake tank using wood and empty shell boxes to trick Russian drones. When a Lancet drone costing $35,000 obliterated the decoy, Russian media proudly showcased the footage celebrating a tank kill. Ukrainians later revealed it was just a pile of charred wood. Talk about expensive firewood. What could be dumber than giving away your position to the enemy? That's exactly what Russian forces did when they spotted a Ukrainian flag floating on balloons. They opened fire on it, revealing their location to Ukrainian forces, who promptly launched a successful strike. A flag on balloons caused chaos. In one of the war's most ironic moments, a pro-Russian journalist posted photos of a Wagner Group base in Popasna on social media. Ukrainian forces analyzed the pictures, identified the location, and obliterated the base. Forget encrypted communication. It seems selfies are Russia's worst enemy. After the selfie blunder, Ukraine pulled another stunt, this time in Crimea. Ukrainian hackers hijacked Russian TV channels and broadcasted Zelensky's speech to the people of Crimea. It wasn't just a broadcast, though. Channel names were swapped with a clever insult aimed at Putin. Who knew that tech and a little humor could hit Russia where it hurts? Let's talk about Russia's unfortunate self-targeting missiles, Russia's U-turn rockets. Now, we all know that old machinery has a few quirks, but when a Russian rocket decided to make a U-turn mid-flight and head straight back to its own launcher, even the engineers were scratching their heads. It's like the rocket said, actually, on second thought, let's not. Boom, right back at ya. And if that's not enough, Russia has also been a bit off-target closer to home. Believe it or not, in just 1 year, Russia managed to drop glide bombs on their own territory nearly 40 times. That's right, they bombed themselves almost as often as they bombed Ukraine, and with no enemy in sight. At this rate, they might just win the self-sabotage award. But this story of friendly fire is not restricted to glide bombs only. On the 28th of September, a group of Russian soldiers who surrendered to Ukrainian forces in the Donbas region after a failed assault came under fire from their own troops. A similar incident happened in the month of August. A drunk Russian helicopter pilot opened fire on a convoy. As it turned out, the convoy wasn't Ukrainian at all, and 2 Russian Mista-S self-propelled artillery systems. But at least one Russian soldier managed to pull off something heroic, kind of. In a plot twist worthy of a comedy sketch, Russia awarded a medal to a pilot who crashed into an American drone. Talk about honoring incompetence. He couldn't avoid a drone, but hey, here's a medal for effort. And the Russian army's blunders aren't just limited to weapons and soldiers. Some things never change, like the Russians' love for landing helicopters on an airfield that gets shelled every single time. They've gone back 15 times to the same airport near Kherson with fresh equipment just to be blown up in the same spot. Imagine sending expensive gear to the same doomed field again and again, like an endless reel of Groundhog Day. Now for a bit of Russian ingenuity. Or lack thereof. Here are some of the funniest and dumbest examples of Russian soldiers acting as looters during the invasion of Ukraine. A Russian zookeeper, Oleg Zubkov, made headlines for stealing animals from the Kherson Zoo. Among the loot was a raccoon, which became an internet sensation and meme. This furry looting spree was so absurd that the raccoon even got its own propaganda spot. A soldier was photographed loading a tank with children's sheets featuring Disney characters, a blanket, and a heating tank. This bizarre theft was so specific that it could only be described as a wartime home decor mission gone wrong. One of the most ridiculous acts of looting occurred when Russian soldiers took a toilet bowl from a Ukrainian house during their retreat. Things get more interesting when two soldiers are caught stealing the washing machine. This is the kind of item you don't expect to see on any battlefield loot list. Yet, it somehow made its way to the soldiers' spoils. In a classic movie villain move, Russian soldiers were caught on video dragging a safe from a Ukrainian bank. Imagine the weight of that thing. Maybe they planned to crack it open later, hoping for riches, or just finding a pile of paperwork. And speaking of things Russians probably didn't want you to know, picture this. Russian TV announces the arrival time and location of a military supply ship in Berdyansk. Ukrainian forces tune in, take notes, and blow it up right on schedule. Remember kids, loose lips sink ships, especially when you tell the whole world where they're docked. And earlier in the invasion, Russia decided to wipe out Ukraine's 4G network, only to realize, too late, that their own encrypted communications ran on, you guessed it, 4G. Sometimes you're your own worst enemy. In a similar vein, Russia's missteps aren't limited to tech. They often find themselves tangled in their own absurdities. Russian troops digging trenches in Chernobyl? That's like playing in radioactive dirt. They didn't just fight Ukraine, they fought leftover radiation from 1986. Some soldiers reportedly got sick, proving they didn't just miss history class, but basic common sense too. A clip of a Russian soldier practicing his combat skills, not with a rifle or a high-tech gadget, but with a shovel. His swings were clumsy, his face a mask of frustration, as he attempted to master this handheld air defense system. Why such an odd training exercise? What could possibly require these medieval tactics? And if you think that's strange, just wait. Russia's approach to combat seems to get even more baffling. The answer comes in another clip, where Ukrainian FPV drones turn the battlefield into a showcase of precision and absurdity. An FPV drone from Ukraine's 82nd Airborne Brigade locks onto a Russian soldier. His weapon? That same shovel, sarcastically dubbed the latest anti-drone innovation. The drone dives, the soldier raises his shovel, defiant but outmatched. In a matter of seconds, modern precision triumphs over outdated improvisation. All the practice in the world couldn't prepare for a fight where tech wins every time. Here, some clever minds with shovels came out against FPVs. Have they been reading too much Sun Tzu or what? They might have brushed up on some ancient military strategy, but it's safe to say this doesn't quite line up with the art of war. Here we have another Russian soldier in the field trying to poke a drone with a stick. Yes, a stick. The whole thing is a comedy of errors with a side of ridiculousness. And if that wasn't absurd enough, the scene takes an even stranger turn. Russian soldiers are prepping for battle, not with weapons or training, but with vodka shots and traditional dances. Before heading to the front lines, mobilized troops are getting their combat spirit lifted by downing alcohol and busting out round dances like it's a local folk festival rather than a military operation. It's the kind of motivation you'd expect at a drunken wedding, not a war zone. The result? An army that's more ready for a karaoke competition than a fight, proving once again that in Russia, even war has a wild party vibe. And it doesn't stop there. After their vodka shots and folk dance warm-ups, Russian soldiers are now sleeping under the stars like it's a budget camping trip. Forget military-grade tents, these mobilized troops are getting their beauty sleep in the great outdoors, proving that sleeping under the sky is the latest luxury in military accommodations. It's like a summer festival, but with less music and more existential dread. Life truly is the best comedy, especially when your barracks are nature's finest. Just when you think it can't get any stranger, Azov fighters pull off a surprising move, using Snickers bars to trick and capture 3 Russian soldiers. Disguised as Russian spies, they offered the candy to build trust, turning a simple treat into a tactical weapon. While chatting, one Azov fighter casually revealed he was actually Ukrainian and invited the Russians to surrender. The soldiers, caught off guard and likely still chewing their chocolate, agreed without putting up a fight. Turns out that sometimes a simple snack can be all it takes to turn the tide of a confrontation. Last but not least, here the soldiers of the 63rd Mechanized Brigade stumbled upon Russian troops in the forest, using their knees and elbows to turn quad bikes into little hiding spots, hoping to confuse Ukrainian drones. It's like they thought the drones wouldn't notice a quad bike trying to play hide and seek. Well, since these were the invaders, the game ended with a destroyed tag. So with all these strange and desperate tactics, What's the dumbest moment you've seen from the Russian army? Share your thoughts in the comments.